quiero entrar. A ver, que no me agarre las. Ok, boys, estamos en vivo en YouTube.
Okay.
Les voy a mandar el link al chat de Facebook, ¿ok?
Okay. So he's going to send the YouTube link to our group on Facebook. So if you all want to share that in your Facebook account.
Oh, I can't believe it. I just caught a mosquito and let the damn thing go out of my hand. Right.
Oh, en el chat, aquí en el chat se los mando. Ok, en el chat, va a ser en el chat de aquí de la aplicación, ahí se los mando. Ahí está, en el chat de la aplicación a mano derecha, ahí lo van a encontrar.
Ah, yeah.
Sí, y ahorita voy a compartir ya en la página web. Perdón, en Sin Tapabocas. Me salgo yo, mucho éxito. Y yo creo que ahorita yo les escribo cuando ya estemos en Facebook, ¿va?
Okay. Okay, so we are live now on YouTube. So I want to welcome all of you in behalf of all the team of Sin Tapa Bocas, which is Christian Macias, Jorge Romero, Barbara Torres, and Alex Sosa. So for those of you that don't maybe know you that much, hi Rich.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. It's so unprofessional. Oh,
mysterious
no. Okay.
Rich.
Okay, no, it's okay. We're almost there. Sorry, Melissa. Sorry, everyone.
You lost your dog, though.
Can't find my dog.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, you were introducing everyone and I've just totally ambushed it.
Don't worry. So, okay, so we're here with Nicole Esteras, who is based right now in Oaxaca, Mexico, Ken Pack, who's in the US, and Rich Homan, who is in the UK. So to start out with, I would love that everyone just tells us who you are, what do you do, just a little bit about yourself to for the audience to get to know you a little bit. So if you, yeah, we can start with Nicole.
Cool. Hi, I'm Nicole Esteras. I'm originally from California, and I've been in Mexico for about 13 years, and 10 of those in Oaxaca. That's where I am currently, and I am a documentary photographer specializing in weddings and families, and I do a lot of street photography as well. And I've been shooting weddings for about 6 years.
Okay. How about you, Ken?
Hey, hola, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, Ken.
Hola. Yeah, my name is Ken. I'm based out in Washington, D.C. I currently live in the vicinity of Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, technically, yeah. And then I've been shooting weddings for past 15 years. So this is my 15th year. What else? I've been to Mexico about 6 or 7 times already. So I'd love to go back to Mexico. I miss them so much.
That's great.
Yeah.
Where in Mexico?
I've been to DF, Querétaro, Cancun, Monterrey, and Tepoztlán. Yeah.
Great. Oh, that's great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Rich?
Hi, I'm Rich Howman. Hope you're all well. Until about 3 weeks ago, I was a wedding photographer, and yeah,
like many of us.
Yeah, I think everyone feels like that at the moment, don't they? That's the elephant in the room. So I've been shooting weddings for almost 15 years. What else can I tell you about me? I was an army reservist for about 16 years. What what else have I done that's exciting? Not much, really. Just photographed lots and lots of weddings. I think I've photographed some between fucking mosquitoes. Sorry. I've photographed, oh, sorry, kids.
It's okay.
Somewhere between, I don't know, 700 and 800 weddings over the years. And I've spoken at a few conferences and things. But most of all, I just love hanging out with my lovely big family. I don't have any kids or anything, so they're basically all stolen off of my sisters. I got a degree in fine art. I trained as a painter originally, many years ago. And yeah, that's it in a nutshell, really.
That's great.
Good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry about the
About the mosquito.
bloody mosquitoes. Yeah.
And well, we're going to start with the obvious as we're all going through this, changing things with the COVID-19 stuff. So I would like to know, how are you coping with the situation? What are you doing at home, business-wise? Just what is your everyday life now? Nicole?
Well, so far we've had about 7 weddings postponed that were going to take place between now and July. And most of those in Mexico, a few of them in California. So far, they've all been postponed for future dates, so they haven't been canceled. So yeah, it's been challenging. It's been a lot of work. We've been redoing our contracts, putting in a new clause related to postponement and transferable deposits. And in terms of what I've been doing, I've been editing a couple weddings, taking my time a little bit, going a little distracted, but editing 2 weddings. I have 2 more to do to finish up from February and early March. And been doing some street photography from our car, actually. My husband, Roque, drives our VW Bug, and I photograph in the streets just to kind of get an idea of what's going on in our city and to document it, which for me is important to do in these times. And doing a lot of yoga, hanging out with my dogs. Yeah, just trying to take it day by day and see what happens, These are it's unprecedented times, so it's hard to make any predictions about how things are going to go or what's going to happen in the future, because really we haven't lived through anything like this. So yeah, just trying to be present and continue forward.
Right. And how about you, Ken?
So I've been doing a lot of household chores, like fixing some stuff, modifying my fishing kayak, walking my dog. Finally trained my son to ride a bike properly. He was supposed to be getting a black belt as of last month, but everything got postponed. A black belt in Taekwondo, so. And then today I'm supposed to be flying over Mexico, returning from Patagonia. So that wedding, of course, got canceled. Actually, canceled, but it's we're in the premature stage of prepping their wedding rescheduling. So hopefully we reschedule the wedding, but it's really hard to see people cancel their weddings. So luckily, I have only 1 cancellation so far, but they're together. It's not like they're separated. But I've heard some couples actually got separated because of this, because of the I don't know, too much of a stress coming to their mindset. So I'm trying to keep myself and myself positive, and then reinforce myself with something that I can shift my focus around. So I've been walking my dog a lot more than I used to do, and then I know I'm eating a lot, but also I'm trying to trying to be in the fit too. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to shooting weddings again starting this summer, because luckily my wedding clients getting married starting July, they're all keeping their dates as of today. So hopefully I get to shoot again starting early July. So we'll see how it goes. But the governor for the state of Virginia, we were told to stay home until June 10th. So yeah, it'll be tough for next how many more days? 2 months. Crazy.
2 months to stay home. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, but it's not a curfew, So we can go outside and then do grocery shopping. We can actually go fishing and kayaking because it's a social distance exercise, and then we can actually catch the fish to supplement our food. That's the excuse for outdoor activities. But yeah, we'll be pulled over if we drive for no reason around the state. And if it is not essential, we'll be fined with a lot of penalty.
Yeah, hopefully so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how about you, Rich?
Pretty much the same by the sound of it. It's we're in a lockdown, so no one's supposed to go anywhere, but it's all by consent. So there are, I mean, the police can fine you if you go out, but really most sensible people are staying indoors. Which I must be really honest. I know everybody probably thinks I'm always out partying, but I don't go out much. So actually, it feels kind of the same at the moment. But it's scary business-wise. I was almost completely wiped out, same as everyone else. When it hit, everybody postponed. Well, first of all, everyone went into a panic. So all my clients started panicking, apart from a few. Most people have now, sort of 99% of people have postponed their weddings until next year or the year after. So, as I said before, I'm now an unemployed photographer until next year. So in order to try and do something positive, and I need to earn money and I need to do something positive, but I also need to try and keep my skill set up, which is what Nicole was saying. You know, she's trying to go out and carry on shooting. I don't think that's possible really for what I'm trying to do at the moment. We're not supposed to even travel unless we're going to work or for food. So it's really rubbish. So I've applied to work as a healthcare assistant at the local hospital. So I thought maybe I can try and do some good and maybe bring some of my previous medical skills to try and help people. So that's what I'm doing right now. The camera is, you can't see it because I've blocked it out, but it's not being used right now.
I watched the Rich's presentation during the Fearless conference in Europe last year in Germany. The story he shared about his experience through the army for the documentarist, for the soldiers being wounded from the battlefield. It was really, really immensely like touching my heart. So hopefully Rich can share some of these somewhat graphic nature, but it was very touching moments. Hopefully, like when you go back to the medical field, you can document the current situation and then, you know, deliver the messages to our next generation. Yeah.
Ken, that's so kind. That's so kind. It was emotional, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah, but it's these are all real things. It's the same whether you're at a wedding or you're on a battlefield or you're walking to the shops or whatever it is. It's all part of the human condition. It's all why we're here, isn't it? So it's interesting though. Sometimes I've worked with people and things have happened at weddings. I mean, maybe we've had a fire or someone's been injured. You know, over the years, when you've been shooting a long time, this stuff happens, doesn't it? And there is a time to put the camera down and to actually be involved and present. Although I'm a huge advocate for remembering that an image can motivate, it can inspire, it can inform. Sometimes it can even change people's opinions. And it's hugely important for history that we keep doing what we do. But there is a time to put the camera down. And if you've got the skills, to roll up your sleeves and help.
I would like to ask Richard a question. Where did you serve as a reservist?
Oh, goodness me. I served in Northern Ireland. I never got out to Iraq. I never got anywhere you might think of as real war or interesting, but it was certainly real enough where I went.
Right. But I wanted to know, how did that affect your balance? Well, you have a balance of fine art, and then you have that real life approach and seeing things that could be hard for many people. I wanted to know, how did that help to form you as a photographer and also your personality?
Sure, it's something I get asked a lot. Interestingly, with my fine art degree, when I signed up to join the army in the first place, they looked down at the paperwork and then they looked up at me and said, "Why do you want to do this?" So I get the same question everywhere I go. I kind of feel like I don't really fit within the photography world, and I don't really fit within the military. So I keep looking. Maybe one day I'll work it out. But yeah, I think it's important to do lots of things and not to become completely absorbed by any one thing, which is really hard when you're a photographer, isn't it? Because you do get completely absorbed with what you're doing. You get almost obsessed with what we do. But it's really important to step outside of that and step back into what I describe as the real world sometimes, and not to be an observer, but to be a participant in what's going on around you.
Yeah, and also because I see your work that you absorb everything. You really are like a sponge, absorbing every single part of the scene, of your client's emotions, and that's very, very interesting. And also your personality, how your personality combines with that is really, really very unique and very special. I think you do a great job doing that, man.
That's so kind. Thank you so much. I think it's just years ago when I was younger, it was all about ego. I chased awards. I wanted to create beautiful, exciting, engaging imagery. And then you get a bit older and you see a bit of the world and you do different things. And then suddenly it becomes far more about the individual. It becomes about those experiences and those emotions and those stories and all the things we talk about. But it becomes far more real for you, doesn't it? I think that's universal, you know. So yeah, it's about the human condition and the experience. And for me, the fact, and I know people will cringe when I say it, but we're not here for a long time. So it's about recording all of that for people, but not forgetting you've got to live as well.
Right.
Yeah, totally. And getting in a little bit into this, do you, in each of your countries, do you think that weddings or photography or even how we shoot weddings will evolve or change in some way after we get over this stuff? So Nicole, you want to share what do you think will happen here in Mexico regarding that?
Like I was saying before, I think that it's hard to say. We haven't lived through something like this, so it's hard to make predictions based on something that's completely new. We don't really have a point of reference. But my initial reaction is yes. I think that definitely in terms of destination wedding and tourism, which is something that Mexico, many places in Mexico live off of in many different forms, whether it be wedding industry or many other areas of tourism. But yeah, I think it will change. I don't know what that change necessarily is going to look like, but I do believe that there will be a big change, at least for a couple of years. Yeah, and I think it's going to affect the wedding industry in a way that perhaps we would prefer not to happen, but we're going to have to find a way to be resilient through that. And like Richard's saying, pull on other resources, other experiences, other skill sets. What else can we do, right? In these times. So yeah, I think there will be an effect here in Mexico.
Yeah. And what do you think, Ken?
Like Nicole said, it'll definitely hit us really hard. Just like how we went through the Great Depression, World War II, Korean War, Cold Wars, Vietnamese Wars, Spanish flu. Like all these like crazy stuff that happened in our history, it definitely affect just how the 9/11 affected everything in the transportation. It'll affect us. I don't know, like how interactive my clients can be at the weddings, or I don't know if I have to keep wearing the mask at the weddings. Mm-hmm. It may deteriorate or distract, I don't know, like the nature of the weddings, but and pretty much there will be some interesting stories coming that we never anticipated before, or we never had experienced before. So it'll be very interesting. But on the other hand, people will try to keep as normal as possible. I think, but definitely there will be something in their mind or in their heart that may affect little, changes in the traditions or anything that we are used to seeing or experience. In terms of number of weddings, the volume wise, to me, it'll change. It'll decline because, or the scale of the wedding will be smaller. It'll be a much smaller wedding. It'll definitely affect the cash flow and economy of a wedding industry. So I'm not trying to be very negative, but after seeing all these like, the epic, historic changes I've seen so far, like, it'll definitely hit us. And then there'll be a lot of new standards coming. So we might have to kind of go with the new changes and then adapt ourselves to the changes and then go from there. Like Rich said, everybody has, a lot of photographers, they come from different backgrounds, including myself. I used to work for the government for 8 years. So I'm thinking about having a second job just in case. And I'm asking my wife to get a job, maybe working for the IT company because she has an IT degree. So hopefully we can have some like kind of consistent source of income for the next few years if this pandemic continues affecting our industry. So people will get married. People have to get married because there's some traditions that have to that makes people get married, but the nature, the contents will be changing because of this.
Right. I'm totally with you in the scaling down of weddings, number of people, or how much people will invest in their wedding and go back just to basics, not those huge lavish weddings or yeah. And I don't know about the policy with the face mask. I don't know how long it will be because now it's the recommendation, so maybe that's going to be now like a fashion accessory also, like wearing a belt or something. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see.
I'm planning on customizing my mask with the camera lens on it.
yeah. Great
Or
idea.
maybe smile. So I don't have to say smile, just like smile.
Like,
I would like to see the family portrait. Say, can you please fix your mask this side, please? Your earrings.
Yeah, it's not symmetrical.
Right. Well, it's you reminded me right now. There was an article I read last night from the Huffington Post about doctor in the U.S. I think it was in California, that they were treating all these patients, and well, their patients are alone because family cannot go in, right? And all the doctors are like in space suits, and you just barely see their eyes. And he got the idea of printing.
Oh, I saw this.
Photos. Yeah. One of his photos and put it like his badge, outside his suit, and it was a picture of him smiling, because he was thinking that if the patients could not see him but see a picture of him smiling would be more human for them, the feeling that somebody human is taking care of them and it's trying to give a smile even if they don't see it. And a lot of doctors and nurses went into it, and it was just amazing to see it. It really made me cry, because I just felt that a power of a photograph right now in this times, you never thought it would be a story like this, having somebody use a photo of them in this critical situations for their patients, and I think it was very, very heartwarming. And it comes back to valuing what we do, as photographers, and recording important dates of our couples, or maybe birthdays, just special events that they can come back to them through our photos, So, Richard, what is your thought about this wedding thing in your country? How's it going to change?
Okay, well, I'm not popular. I'm not popular because when it happened, I had a vision that this might be the case, that not only might we go into a lockdown, but we probably have a depression or a recession following it. And let's not dress it up. We provide a luxury service, and any luxury service is going to struggle when most people don't have much money coming in. So what I advised what I was doing myself, which was go out and find work and outside of the industry, and do it now. Do it before the rush comes. Do it before everybody goes rushing out of their jobs or is made redundant or can't work through sickness. Go and find work to support yourself and your family and your home now. And that was unpopular, I think, because the wedding industry wanted to project that it's still going to be okay and everything's going to be fine. And that's wonderful. And it's great if it is. And I really sincerely, even for my own sake, hope that it is. But don't wait to see, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So that's kind of what I'm doing too. At the same time, I can't let my skills slip. That's really important. You've got to keep shooting. You've got to keep working. You can't get that skill fade and just let it all go. And actually, we all love what we do as well. So we don't want it to disappear. But fundamentally, things are going to change. They have already. It's going to take a very long time to get back to anything that we consider normal, probably, I think, within our lifetime. So I think we have to adjust and adapt and overcome whatever it is that sort of comes our way. But in the short term, if we love our job so much, we need to survive to be able to do it in the future. And that means going out and finding income so that we can survive this phase and get to the next phase so that we can come back again.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's, that phrase of, what was it? Hope for the best. It's what we all have in our minds right now, I think. And what you were talking about made me remind the question I wanted to place to Nicole, because since I started following Nicole on social media, because we haven't met personally, I met both of you guys last year at the Fearless Conference, which was amazing. But well, I haven't had the fortune with Nicole, but she posts on social media, Facebook and Instagram, wedding photos, but not only wedding photos. She photographs her life, her dog's day-to-day life in Oaxaca. And she's like nonstop. She can do it like every single day. And I had that question because it pops in my mind every time I see her photos. This morning I saw photos of Oaxaca again, So what drives you, Nicole, to just document every single day? I mean, your photographer skills must be right there because you're just shooting every single day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what exactly it is that drives me. I can say how it feels. Like I have like this desire to document what's going on, to get better, to see. I'm curious about what's happening in my city right now. It's important to me. Of course, I'm emotionally attached to what's happening. And when I see the city is empty, it gives me some sense of security. And at the same time, it breaks my heart because I know there's so many people that depend on tourism and depend on the city, selling in the streets. There's, in Mexico, the informal workforce is big, and, people are being devastated economically. And there's this great podcast that I listened to yesterday. It's new from the New York Times. I believe it's called Calling Sugar. I highly recommend listening to the first 2 episodes that they just published. And I wish I could quote one of the writers who was interviewed yesterday. But he talked about how, sometimes you don't know that you're documenting something important. You're just documenting what's going on. But in the future, it could become, something that is very much valued or looked back upon to give reference to what someone's living in the present, or bigger understanding to what we went through in that time. So I don't necessarily see like what I'm photographing right now as, something huge, but I think that someday it could serve a bigger purpose that I don't know about at this point in time. But in terms of what drives me, I don't know, it's just an innate thing. It gives me I just need to do it. It's hard to explain. And yeah, like Richard's saying, you know, I've considered other things that I can do to earn income. I have a couple. My husband and I have a couple ideas that we're doing right. We're starting up right now. We'll talk about it at a later time. I studied psychology, worked in psychology, so also I'm very interested in the human condition in all sorts of contexts. But yeah, I mean, what it is that drives me to be out there photographing regularly, it's hard for me to explain in words, basically. But yeah, thank you for your question. It's a good thing for me to think about.
Well, I just see you every day in my mind with your camera. I mean, maybe you can leave your dogs or whatever, but not your camera.
No, they're usually in the back of the car.
Yeah, I see that too. But what I say is maybe you can even just forget the dogs, or I don't know, but your camera is with you like
yeah, it usually
24/7.
Yeah, most days it is. And sometimes it's my phone, which is, you know, my phone is really a piece of shit, but it gets the job done. And sometimes my phone, sometimes it's my camera. I use the X-T2, the Fuji First Street. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I need to document what's going on right now. And I guess generally in life. And then right now it's kind of like exaggerated a little bit, the feeling that I have to be doing that. So.
Right. And
I think, can I ask a question? I have I really admire that because, as Nicole was saying, the documentary state of mind for some of us is always there. It's like I want to go out and document it, and document even if there's no one on the streets. I would love to see something. Grab the camera and go out with a mask, maybe you know, some other kind of protection. But that part is really the part that will separate the great or the more ambitious or the more driven photographers from the rest. That's my opinion. I do believe that it's going to be a hard time for everybody, that right now we're working on something else to be done while this situation goes by. But I think many of us, if I may, I think many of us will still consider the possibility of again coming back to what we do, or maybe try to make it different. This is a moment of insight. You have to work on what is inside here and your heart to really think what's going to happen for you in the next years, because this is a total. I've been hearing the word switch. This is a total change of a state of minds, and it's a shocking, like shaking of the soul and shaking the character and the spirits of the people, which is at the end a good thing. But my point is that I think it will be very difficult for someone to admit that the insight has to be there in order to see, yeah, I can do this, I can do that, or maybe I can just totally change my career and be something else I wanted to do. Maybe don't do photography all the time. There's a war photographer named Don McCullin, which I respect very much. He's a documentary war photographer. He was so driven, and he went to the most horrible places that in his late stage of life he's still doing some photography, but his photography is how do you call it, panorama,
landscape.
Yeah, landscaping of the fields. I think he lives in England, and amazing work, and still works in film. And he goes to his dark room and starts working with his photographs, and that's amazing what he's doing. Like, but he didn't leave photography, and still part of his mind was shaken by the horrors of war. After all this thing, I wanted to ask Ken, being such a great photographer, Ken, I love your work. The latest directories out there have shown your work. You've been getting awards, and it's like stunning. You do such a wonderful work with colors and imagery of the people having fun, enjoying themselves. My question to you is, how is it that, what kind of personality are you, and how does that help you in your photography? Because you might be, I consider myself, believe it or not, an introvert, and sometimes I'm an extrovert. So during the party, I'm just quiet. I don't talk to anybody, but I see that most photographers are pretty much like that. They don't talk too much. They are quiet, but they have this amazing ability to interact without speaking to the clients, and having that imagery of having fun and emotional, compelling moments. And that's what I see in your work. What kind of personality you think you are, Ken?
It's a little complex just to describe, because it changes from time to time, depends on where I am and when I am. So unlike Nicole, I don't carry my cameras every day. A lot of my work is captured through my, I don't know, kind of like commercially tamed eyes and mindset. So I don't really document the people everyday life because I consider myself as a commercial photographer. I really enjoy my life doing something outside of my profession as a photographer. So like, fixing my fishing kayak is one of my things that I like to do, but it's very creative. I do a lot of modifications to the kayak. So I kind of utilize my creative vision in different way, different mindset. And that's, so when I'm shooting weddings, a lot of photos you see, I really appreciate your kind words, by the way. They happen to be spontaneous ideas, because I love seeing and capturing the things without thinking too much. Just like, it has to be very spontaneous and very candid. However, some sort of I would say outgoing personality really helps people. Helps people like evoking their real personalities out. It's like, unlike a lot of photographers who rather stay quiet and then kind of speak through their. Sorry about that. My dog was barking so bad.
I think it's on my cat.
Yeah.
This guy.
Oh,
Say
baby!
hi.
Oh, this is, now we're
He's a
talking.
Jack Russell Terrier. He's very
Oh,
playful.
baby!
They're-
Hello, what's his
they're
Ken? What's
So
his name?
distractive.
He's
No,
probably
he's
saying,
actually
Ken.
he's almost 4 years old. So
Uh-huh.
look at his muscle.
Oh,
He's probably saying, Ken, why did you put that photo of me in the background? About that.
With the same face, same face. I had to hold him for a while. Because he's gonna bark at the delivery guys outside. There's a lot of Amazon deliveries going on right now.
Yeah.
So my personality really helps people evoke their or reveal their real personalities because it's like just this like awkwardness and stiffness they experience at the wedding. They need some help. Otherwise, they have to drink something before the wedding and get loosened up. But unlike weddings in Mexico, like our weddings in DC, like in general US areas, we go by the hours. So usually we shoot by maybe 11 p.m. So like we're only given 8 hours to shoot everything and document everything most of the time. So it's our job to, I mean, if wedding goes for like 3 days, 24 hours, there's a lot of moments can happen, but for us, it's really hard to capture the real personalities. So I have to kind of, be more proactive, reaching out to the people and helping them to evoke their real personalities. So I talk a lot at the weddings during the first hours. And then mostly these happen during the getting ready time. And then once I go through the ice breaking process to get to know everybody and make them comfortable, then that's when moments start happening. And then also when I direct them, it's more, I don't know, natural to them. It doesn't really bring any hesitance. It doesn't cause any hesitance, or they just do it, because they feel closer and then more connected to photographer.
More comfortable, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not there to document this, I don't know, this, the protest event. This is not for news media. This is someone's wedding. And the whole life is told through the 8 hours of wedding. So, so I gotta do my best to capture the moments they can enjoy and cherish for the life. The 8 hours of the event will be cherished for rest of their life, or maybe to the next generation. So I think my approach is a lot different than how you guys were educated or inspired by the photojournalist. I'm more like hybrid photojournalist, and then hybrid, I would say, I don't know, extrovert photographer, which is pretty rare in our industry, because there's not many extrovert personalities in the industry. But I try to utilize best of my life, best of what I was given, to excel or to my work, and then also exceed my clients' expectation. So yeah, that's why you see a lot of those some quirky natures in my photography, because it shows the real personalities of my clients.
Yeah,
so it also utilized by my creative vision together.
And Ken, actually, this was one of the questions I have for you. Mm-hmm. Do you think people are born creative, or they develop it, or they can develop it through time?
I think you have to, just like Nicole, you have to devote yourself to your creative side or storytelling side. It has to be your daily practice. So although I'm not taking photos right now, actually I use my phone to capture my crazy dog running around, roaming around the field. The soccer field is closed, so he can roam around. Also, when I'm doing all these like household work, I try to be creative using all the tools that I never learned before how to use it. So I watch YouTube videos just to get to know how to use these tools, and then kind of apply my creative vision to modify my fishing kayak. Or I don't know, when I play with my dog, I try to be creative. So it kind of like, it helps me staying fresh with the ideas that I like to generate for the moment. I can really generate all these crazy ideas from a textbook. So it has to be very like spontaneous, impromptu. So because my subject they don't wait for my creative vision. So it just like has to be very prompt and spontaneous, and then speedy to process it. Yeah.
Which makes it a little bit more challenging as well.
Yeah, I think for me, like taking too much time to think about something, stories and stuff, I think I'd rather stay quiet, be more introvert, like tell myself as an introvert photographer, just observe and then capture as the story goes. But like at the wedding, there's so many different things happening. Like there could be a very I don't know, emotional person sitting in a certain pew, and then there could be like these kids going crazy, like playing iPhones, and then like they're laughing at I don't know. There's so many contents can happen at one stage of life amongst all these like people. So it's kind of like, you know, really hard to focus on one at a time. It has to, you have to be open your radar to kind of like collect all the information. So I try to kind of like, you know, narrow down what I want to shoot and then capture and then, you know, tell the story. Yeah.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
I would like to add one thing quickly. There's the link for everybody who's watching right now at the YouTube. Please ask us your questions for the guests, our great guests. So we have so many questions here, but for all the people who are watching, please let us know your questions, and we'll be happy to send them to them and to Richard to kill a mosquito. Okay. There's an infestation of mosquitoes at Richard's house, but it's okay. That's fine. Go ahead, Melissa.
So
I didn't think you could see when you were talking, but you can, can't you?
Yeah,
bastards, I'm going to get him in a minute. Yeah. Yeah.
So Richard, now your turn. What you are also very much into documentary photographer. I also saw those photos of you working before at the military hospital. So what would be your 3 top tips for approaching a wedding in a documentary style?
Ooh. God, wish you sent me this one before, Melissa. Let me think. 3 top tips. Okay.
It's just what you do. It's not difficult. It's just what you do.
You just wait, Melissa. You wait till I have my channel. I'm going to interview you and ask you questions. Right. 3 top tips for a document. Right. Okay. So I don't know. I guess it only occurred to me that I was predominantly a documentary photographer after about 10 years. I didn't really know what to call myself. In fact, I didn't go to a single conference or a single class or speak to a single other photographer. There was only one person in the industry for about 10 years I followed, and that was Ben Chrisman. And the only reason that I went to my first conference was because I wanted to meet him. So if you're listening, Ben, so I didn't really sort of pigeonhole myself as anything. So in order to give advice on what might be 3 good things to do to be a good documentary photographer, I guess number 1, be omnipresent. Do not switch off. I took about 7 years ago, I took an apprentice photographer to a wedding with me, and he was a young guy, and he finished the day, and we worked hard. I made him work hard as well. And we got to the end of the day, and I said, so how did you feel that went? And he said, I've never worked so hard in my life. He said, I am absolutely, completely spent. I'm exhausted. And I said, then you've done it right. Yeah, this is the job. And it wasn't for him, and he knew that. But I think being present and working really, really hard. You've only got one go at this. So number 1, I'm dragging this out, aren't I, Melissa? Okay, number 1, work hard. Okay, work hard physically, work hard visually, work hard intellectually. Look for moments, study it. Physically move your body to where you need to be in order to get the shots, in order to capture the things you want. Search for light, engage your brain. Don't just be a passive observer, be an active photographer. So number 1, you know, be busy, work hard. Number 2, I've got to think of 2 more now. Okay. I think be humble, because not all of the stories at a wedding, not all of the emotions and stories and moments are super exciting 2-man studios moments. And don't get me wrong, they capture beautiful little intimate moments too, but they're known for these big, bold statements. So I would say look for the little things as well. And by the little things, I mean the little things between people. Don't Okay, and that brings me on to, hang on, I've just thought of a third one. So number 3, don't become obsessed with detail when there are things involving people going on. I know sometimes weddings are beautiful, pretty affairs, and you know, I get seduced by it too, but really focus every single thing in your world on the story of the people in front of you, whatever that is. So have no expectation. So number 1, work hard. Number 2, whatever it was I said. Number 3, try not to have an expectation. Oh, search for the little things. Number 3, really try and focus on the true story that's going on in front of you. You don't need to bring too much of yourself to what's going on in front of you. And that's the mistake I made for about 10 years. It was the Richard show. And actually, the story of what's in front of me was so much more beautiful and so much more interesting that once I'd switched off the ego, and it took a long time, then I found that the real stuff was beautiful and inspiring and moving. So there you go, 3.
3. You nail it. You nail it. And with your last phrase, actually, we're going to kill one question I had for afterwards, which is, Nicole. Well, I want the opinion of all of you, but we'll start with Nicole. So do you think photographers have an issue with ego?
I mean, I think humans have an issue with ego.
Okay.
I think it's specific to photographers. I mean, I think that can, of course, exist in anyone.
Right.
I think that it takes a lot of personal work to be able to recognize when you're in an ego space, and be able to recognize it, get out of it. That's like step 1, right? And then the other one is like not even get into that space, which is extraordinarily challenging process of personal work, I think. But yeah, I mean, I think every human being has ego, and especially around things, you know, art, what you're creating, your creations are often is a lot of ego around that. But that's not to say it can't be tamed, or it can't be worked, or it can't be recognized. I think we have to have a certain level of awareness around it to be able to work from a space and create from a space that's not ego driven, and that is driven more by authenticity and telling true stories, and not imposing narrative in terms of documentary photography. But yeah, I mean, of course, yeah, definitely photographers. I don't know if they have a problem with it generally, photographers specifically, but yeah, I think ego is something that can complicate things in any context, and definitely in the creation of wedding photos or photos in general, for sure.
And how about you, Ken? What do you think about that idea?
So in reality, our ego can collide with videographers, because we worked with the videographers a lot, and then we often have conflict with their approach. So our ego is like, hey, I want to do this shot, and then it can't really like you know get in front of my angle. On the other side, you know, the videographers, they have their own ego, and that they want us to stay out of their frame. So it's just like I think ego can carry the way when we just like let just things go way that is. You know, we can't really change much because it's someone else's wedding, not our wedding. We're just trying to do our best, but sometimes our ego doesn't let us do our best job. And also that can distract your creative vision too, and seeing the moments better. So I've seen a lot of my friend photographers, they struggle a lot because of the videographers. I'm just like, I'm not calling out videographers, they're really bad, but it's just like, it's a constant battle we have. But on the other hand, I collaborate with the videographers a lot. So I use their lights. I just use their talents, their creative vision together, just to create something different. Because I give a huge respect to the authenticity of the moments. I try to not to fabricate much unless they ask me to do something, like directing them better for portraits and stuff. what I was really into engaging myself to be top of the industry, I really forced myself a lot to capture the moments that really I'm hoping to happen. But in that, when it never happens, it just like depresses me so bad. It's like, you know, I've been waiting to see the tears coming from the mom during the file exchange, and it never happened. She was holding the tissue, but it never happened. I never saw her tears. And then that moment took me away seeing the tears from the groom, because I was focusing on the other thing, less important, maybe more important. I don't know. It was very judgmental, but I think I mean, you know, it's just like you have to keep watching and things going on, or just open your mind and open your heart. So whatever ego, your narrow mind doesn't really come distractive to your work and to your life. So I don't know, like I never consider myself being ego at the weddings, because I like to work with other vendors a lot. But I don't know, like I'm not, maybe my thinking process not that deep enough to share it, but I'm more like realistic side of talking about ego. So, sorry if I didn't answer your questions properly.
No.
You did.
You did. And Rich, how about how was that the Richard show with your ego?
Yeah. Well, I haven't always been a photographer. I mean, I wasn't there to entertain. That's not what I mean in that. But I think that I had an expectation, a very strong expectation of what I wanted to happen and what I wanted to see at weddings. At the weddings I was shooting, I wanted to have these moments that I saw around me in the industry. And I thought, yeah, maybe I have to go and make those happen. And I mean, it was awful. And I would, just to be really honest, when I heard Ken speaking then and saying, well, the bride wasn't crying, and I was thinking, well, make the bride cry. Make her cry. You know, you're not gonna get a fearless award unless you get a tear out of her. I'd be like, oh, are you really sad? Oh, is there anyone who couldn't make it here today? Oh, that must be awful. And that makes you really sad, doesn't it? Okay. Would you like a tissue? Here you are. So no, but maybe not that far. But I was engineering moments maybe more than I should. And don't get me wrong, there aren't any rules, are there? So there's nothing saying that that's particularly wrong. But I think I was engineering a lot of the scene, to the extent where I'd eventually meet couples on the day and they'd say, oh, Rich, what are you going to do? You know, and actually it should have been the other way around. It should have been, well, what are you going to do? You know, what would you like to do? This is your day, you know. But and I would take them on all sorts of crazy journeys, visually and otherwise, in order to project what I wanted. And like Nicole said, it's all ego. It's all ego. I was creating something. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with having fun. There's nothing wrong with seeing eye to eye with your couple and, you know, and really engaging with them and having a great time and creating a great memory. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is something wrong in my mind with what I was doing, which was projecting my intent on their day. Now, they were very happy with the result, but I think they would be happier with the more honest approach, the more reflective, the more withdrawn approach that I take now. But don't get me wrong, I can switch it on and off.
Right. I have a list of, some people. Rogelio Hernandez, Kenpack, great photographer, an incredible person. Big hug to you. We have Juan Luis Jimenez. Hi, Ken and Nicole. Alejandro Sosa, be devoted to our creative side. Great, Ken. He was referring to your answer, Ken. Jorge Romero, love, hope, Howman. And Alejandro Sosa, work hard, be humble, see the story in front of us. Very inspiring, Rich. And Jorge Mercado, hi, everyone. I have a quick anecdote that will lead to Nicole, a question for Nicole. in regards of the ego, and how tricky the mind is, and how much it can affect you or even destroy you. When Melissa and I, we worked together, and Melissa had a spree of super inspiring years, and she was getting so many awards, and she was blooming, right, as a photographer. I mean, she already bloomed, but she was like growing exponentially, and then she went invited to some places in Germany with the Fearless, and she started to win all these awards. Many awards. So that affected me like you have no idea. That was like I was crushed, and obviously because I wasn't secure, or I was very insecure at that particular moment, because uh, I didn't consider myself a good photographer, and I wanted to push myself. So I had the strain of trying to get more and more moments, and not getting anything. Then that affected me so much. Besides, working as a couple is obviously very difficult. Imagine just inviting a second shooter that you don't know too much, and trying to get that person into your style and things, and that could affect you, especially when you know the feeling of being with your loved one, and working as a team, and it's like. So I decided to be a videographer. I decided to start videography. So at the beginning, I sucked, obviously, because the way I wanted to do it was to work as a videographer and a photographer. So I was a hybrid at the same time during the wedding. So it was like lunacy, complete lunacy. So obviously my work sucked. It, it brought my work to the floor, and it didn't help me with my ego. And Melissa was still growing and growing and growing. And I decided, you know what? At what particular moment am I going to say enough? So start working on something, and then grow on that something, decide which one you're gonna do, and do it good. So I started with the videography, and that helped me later on with the photography for storytelling. That also helped me realize how videographers work. And yes, some videographers, of course, they don't know what they're doing. There are many out there that are very, very good, but there are some that they have no idea, and that's why there's a lot of problems. But in any case, the anecdote is there for, so you can get upset, Ken, with all the videographers in the world, and that's fine, okay? Because sometimes those photographers, they don't know anything, and but there's a good thing that communicating with each other that help you, that can help you. I'm telling you.
Well, I was just saying it as an example. I never told you that I used to shoot video more than 100 times in the early stage of my career.
Where's the off button here?
But I stopped doing video as of 2011. So
all right.
Yeah. But I really because I did video, I really understand their approach and then what they're trying to achieve for their angles. Yeah.
And well, there you go. And for Nicole, the question would be, how do you make your business and personal life come together and develop the artwork, blending it? How do you make it more to your likes? How are you going to grow as a couple, both professionally and personally?
Right. So yeah. So Roque, my husband, and I work together. We both started off our photography careers in the nonprofit context. So doing social documentation and communications for nonprofits in Nayarit. Actually, we worked in Punta Mita for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we lived in La Cruz de Guanacaste for 2 years.
No kidding.
Yes. And then here in Oaxaca as well, we worked with different nonprofits doing the same thing.
Oh,
So we,
wow.
what's that?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we kind of
Amazing.
came together. I started before he did. I was shooting by myself, and then Roque decided to leave his job at the nonprofit, and he began to shoot with me as well. And I mean, it's a challenge, of course, working as a couple. Roque's primary interest, I mean, he loves photography. He loves documentary photography specifically, but he's also a painter, and he does a lot of painting, oil painting, printmaking. He has a studio here. So I do all the post-processing and selection. So we do have a separation of space in terms of our professional life, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
If we're together shooting and then post all the time, I think that would be more of a challenge for us personally. But I think we find that balance. I mean, wedding day, we have a good rhythm going. It took a lot of time, quite a few, maybe a couple years to find a balance, you know, because inevitably working with your pareja, your significant other, you're going to have triggers come up at the wedding, right?
Right.
And you're going to react in a way that you would react normally behind closed doors, but that's also a wonderful way to bring, you know, bring to the present maybe some deeper issues that have nothing to do with the wedding, that have been triggered by that wedding and being with your significant other in that wedding. And then those are things you can address and work through personally and professionally. So it's definitely takes a lot of consciousness and awareness. I think over the last year, we've really found a rhythm and a healthy way of working together. We still have moments of like dramas, you know, between us. I hope that everyone else knows what's going on. So you guys have had that as well.
I don't know any couples.
No, Nicole, tell us more about the drama.
No, that's where I'm getting at. That's where I'm. Hey, listen, Richard. This is the whole thing. We're gonna discuss drama. It's gonna be a real life, like a reality show, right?
Yeah, that could be what we do next. You know,
right? I don't know any couple that works as photographers, a marriage team, that they don't have any problems. So it's okay to have problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think that every time that, you know, something comes up and you're in that triggered space and you're like feeling frustrated, like why didn't he do that or why didn't she do that? You know, really, it's just a trigger of a deeper issue, right? It's not actually that person that what they did. It's something far deeper that's coming out in that moment, and if we can be aware of that and in that moment recognize that, then we can have a little bit more control and take a step back and be like, hey, I'm not going to go with this feeling of discomfort or frustration or anger, and you know, put a stop to it and be like, okay, I'm gonna put this in a little box and I'm gonna attend to this after the wedding. You know, right now. Of course, it takes a lot of time and practice. I feel like at least it has for us to be able to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's challenging, I'm sure. And I'm sure, like you said, you faced some challenges working as a couple as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a constant learning process and experience, and I find it fascinating, the psychology of it, and how we can, you know, be in these spaces of like bringing who we are into different spaces, into our workspace, and then like recognizing it, and maybe we have to like modify it. And you know, I don't know if I'm explaining this in a way that makes any sense, but it's something that I'm very aware of and work at personally in my off time and as well in my work time.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question.
Yep, and since we were talking about ego, and I know all of us are in some photography directories, Fearless, Reportage, My Web, right? So let me know in which directory are you all in? And with that, I also want to know because this directory is for the people that don't know, they also hold contests every X number of months. And this awards that you get through the contest, well, can also feed the ego that we were talking about. So what do awards mean for you? In what, in a good way and in a bad way? Rich.
Oh, knew you'd do that to me. Okay. Okay, so they used to mean everything, and then when you've got a few, it's exciting and you want more. It's a bit like drugs, I would imagine. But I'm not exciting enough to ever have them take any, so I can only imagine. Yeah, I think the more you have, the more you want, the more you feel encouraged, and it's almost like someone's just giving you a hug every time, isn't it, and saying that you've done something worthy. And it's even more like that, you know, it's even more so when you look at some of the judges on these various competitions, and their work is just insane. It's incredible. And then you think, these people have just selected something that I've done as being worthy of being arbitrarily better than someone else in the same field. You know, it's a great feeling, and there's no denying that. If it wasn't a great feeling, they wouldn't really exist, I don't think. If people didn't want to win them, they wouldn't exist. So I know a lot of people talk about, and this goes back to the whole ego thing, doesn't it? About, you know, they drive ego and so on. Yeah, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, as long as it's not pushed to some weird extreme. But the more you have, and I know, I speak from a little bit of experience. I started off, I got a couple, I was over the moon. And then you get your first Fearless Award and you're over the moon. And I know that feeling because a guy I second shot for recently got his, Robin Goodlad in the UK. He's an amazing photographer, really, really hard work, a really creative guy. And he got, interestingly enough, in a collection that I was judging, but I hadn't seen his photo before. He was over the moon, and I'll never forget, you know, he contacted me and just said, I'm just absolutely elated at having got my first Fearless Award. And it's a great thing. I mean, this is an industry where you work alone for most of the time, unless you're lucky enough to have a partner that works with you. So to have a group of people tell you that, you know, what you're doing is okay, and actually it's quite good, is a lovely thing. I think that's really important. So from an industry perspective, it's really important. So just making sure it just doesn't go too far and too crazy. But I think you will get to the point when you've done this for a few years and you've got a few awards, and then you've probably run a workshop, and then you've done a few other things, and you started talking on the circuit, then you realize that actually the awards don't really mean anything to you necessarily. They're a barometer of where you're at within the industry at any one time, assuming that you entered them. If you don't, then the barometer is all screwed. So they, you know, they're meaningful and they're important, but probably important for learning in the first instance, and then later on they're important if you want to start being an educator, because they help people understand where you've come from and where you're going, and that your work is within this crazy industry that we're involved with. It's worthy of, you know, it's worthy of something. It's worthy of being listened to, and looked at, viewed. So yeah, I think they're important, but yeah, the harder you work at them sometimes. I mean, I don't think you should necessarily shoot for awards, and I know so many people do. You know, they'll create things in bridal sessions, they'll create the most incredible imagery, which is passable for these awards, and it goes in, and anyone can do that. You know, any one of us can do that. We can create award-winning imagery.
But
and then you have to think, do you want to? Is that where you want to be? Do you want something which is authentic and real and being judged and awarded for that? Or do you want to create something in order to win an award? And I've done both. I used to create imagery, which I thought, well, you know, this is going back to those 10 dark years. And now for me, if awards are the product of doing things well, not due to my intent to win an award anymore. And I think that's a lovely place to be. And then that gives you an authenticity to be able to go forwards and teach with a clean slate and a true heart.
Which reminds me of, tell us, what is your analogy
Yeah. Well,
about chasing the
Fearless
awards?
Awards.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know what you're going. Fearless Awards. I've just killed a mosquito.
Yeah.
Oh man, sorry. Yeah, Fearless Awards. I said, didn't I, at the conference? Fearless Awards are like orgasms. If you think about them too much, they go away.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And how about you, Ken? Do you think all this award thing plays also into the ego, or in your personal situation, what are awards for you?
Oh, he's muted, I think.
Yeah. How do we tell him he's muted?
Everyone
Me.
point to the doors.
No, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Because my dog was barking, I turned it off a little bit. I don't know how I can properly relate the ego to my, thought process in awards, but I'd like to share my perspective coming from maybe business marketing for my, photography, and then my personal take, and then also industry perspective. So starting with the business perspective, for me, awards are validation process for my clients. When they hire me, I prove something that, hey, this is my style. This is like, what people celebrate about, my work and my creative vision. If you really kind of, helps you engaging to my work, then, come hire me. So it's like presentation and of my work with some validation process. Personally, there are pros and cons. One is, of course, I can be, very, self-centered. I think I can be a little bit snobby because I'm the best or I'm the good, better than those like average photographers. On the other hand, those reinforce me to become modest, like by seeing amazing work done by Nicole, storytelling, Richard's amazing story, not only the awarded photos, but the stories that I heard from the conferences, and Melissa's perspective and her thinking process when she sees things differently. It's just like by not just winning the award make me as a different person, but seeing the amazing art created by other photographers and listening to their stories at the conferences through the networking process, it really helps me hopefully become a better person. So it's just like a complex mix of the pros and cons, but for me, my ego is just to become a better photographer than anyone else from business perspective, because I need to sustain my life with a constant income source by receiving nice weddings. But on the other hand, as an artist, I like to keep up with my work by seeing others' work in the award community. So it doesn't have to be the amazing story coming from the best awarded photographers. Some people who are less proactive in awards can bring me amazing stories to heavily inspire me. Somebody can make me cry. But I think it's a process that really kind of like lifts you up as a better photographer. Just like competing through these award sites. I think and industry perspective. Also, it is another validation process. I think that's one of the reasons why we're talking here, because there are some people who really follow my work and then also inspired by my work. At the same time, also I follow a lot of other people's work and then heavily inspired, but not necessarily like mimicking their style, but just like it just helps me to see something differently than other people see, and also it's correlating my networking process. It really helps me to see things that I've never seen before in my life, like seeing the works done in maybe Nepal, wedding works done in somewhere in northern United Kingdom. It's just like some wedding in Guadalajara, in Mexico. It's just like cultural shock is very refreshing my mind by being part of this community. Before I became a Fearless member, I was very confined myself within DC area. So I never knew what's going on outside of my DC wedding photo style. So it really helps me. I think defining ego in the awards is very minimal. It's very small portion of the broad spectrum of awards. There's so many benefits. There's so many pros and cons. If you take it, I don't know, negatively, there's so many ways you can see it as a negative perspective, but there's so many positive things you can receive over the ego you can have. So for me, I grew a lot through the awards, and then I really appreciate how much of humbleness and love that I receive through the communities that I found through the award competitions. So it's not a competition. It's not about the competition. It's about the engaging yourself to the outside of your world. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And how about you, Nicole?
I mean, I agree with everything that Ken and Richard have spoken to. I would add, it sounds like from what they're saying as well, kind of like a summary. It's kind of like the awards are kind of like the wedding photographer's CV, right? It gives you some, I guess, reference and sometimes in pricing or in teaching, and can kind of boost you up in that way, and the sense of community that it can create as well. I think the actually winning of an award is, at least for me, a fleeting feeling. It can like be a nice feeling for, I don't know, a couple hours, and then it just kind of is, you know. My friend, I don't know if you guys follow her, but you should if you don't. Rowena Meadows, she's an incredible documentary family photographer, portrait photographer as well. And she always says that, you know, it's like a little spark, and then it's fleeting, you know, it's a fleeting feeling. And every time, and she, you know, she said to me once, like, the more you win them, the more that feeling is more transient, right? Yeah, I mean, I think it's relative. I don't think it means that you're necessarily a better photographer because you're winning awards than people that aren't entering photo contests. But it definitely can help out in terms of a CV of a wedding photographer, I think, essentially. And the sense of community, I think it's awesome. I see a lot of that going on. I love the podcast of Alan's podcast and the Fearless Photographer group. There's a lot of resources and support. So yeah.
Well, and then talking about awards, I wanted to share the photos you sent of which was the first award you all won. Okay. So let me start sharing the screen. Let's see. Okay, so this is Ken's first award. So I can see this was in 2008, Ken?
Yeah. So back then, Top Knots competition was big. They did it like annually, and then like back in 2008, I didn't know about the existence of WPJA or Fearless because I didn't really pay attention to the online wedding photo contest communities. So I found out Top Knots through the magazine publication of PDN. So yeah. So I before I won this award, I was like so like admiring like amazing creatives around the world, especially in wedding photography industry. And my dream was like winning one small award. So I can give myself little reward. Hey, now I achieved something. Hey, you know, I pop up the champagne. But I think this was the, just like Nicole said, it didn't mean much after a few days to me, but actually it started residing in my heart, in my mindset. Hey, it just brought me some sort of a confidence. Hey, I can achieve something that really make my clients happy. Actually, my client was really happy that I won the award out of their wedding photos. So
this couple right here.
Yeah, it's a true moment. And then we only live like 5 minutes from each other. So it's crazy that we still communicate through Facebook because they're my Facebook friends now, but they still remember this award, and that they feel really honored that their wedding photo was publicized through this award site. And for me, I cannot thank enough my clients to be amazing people and be true to themselves at their own celebrations. So yeah, it just brought me so much of joy, immense joy, immeasurable depths of joy that it's like, yeah, I literally, I had a big party after I heard this announcement. But until I became a fearless member in 2014, it's been very quiet, because I was not really paying attention to awards. But yeah, it kind of like slowly unpeeling the shells, the outer shells of myself, and get myself out of the shell by participating the award and then meeting up getting to know all these amazing artists around the world. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ken. Let's
Yep.
see. Let's see who's next. Okay. I'll share again. Okay, so this is Nicole's photo. So how did you feel, Nicole, with this photo being awarded, and what was how did you come out with that photo?
So this is a wedding in Oaxaca. This is during the calenda, which is like a parade. And the parade generally has like a live band with Oaxacan musicians playing. And they have different, for lack of a better description in English, like characters that are dressed up in different costumes that are traditional to different regions in the state of Oaxaca. And here we have the zancudos, which are young men dressed in women's clothing on stilts, and they dance throughout the calenda. And these zancudos are from Sachila, which is a town in Valles Centrales. And they basically just dance through the whole calenda. It's really impressive. It looks really, really hard. I don't know how they do it. It's really hot in this moment too. This is March of 2017. And so I just started participating in awards maybe 2017, so 3 years ago. And my friend Shantae Dittmar, who's an incredible photographer, she told me about these awards, the wedding photojournalist, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. So I entered a photo towards the end of the year. And yeah, I mean, this is a moment from the calenda. The bride's family is from Sachila, at least one of her parents is from Sachila. So I wanted to get a photo with the zancudos. These guys are called zancudos. I wanted to get the zancudos in there.
This guy's here.
Yeah, the dance, yeah. So it kind of came together, the image. And when I won it, to be honest, I don't remember what I felt. I imagine I felt happy and excited. And the clients, I'm sure, were happy, I think, and excited. I don't know, I don't remember, to be honest. I'm just assuming here. But I still enjoy this moment, and I still enjoy this photograph.
Yeah, well, I went to Oaxaca about 2 years ago, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I was not following you still, so otherwise I would have tried to meet up with you. But yeah, all those dances that they have in the calendas, they're really amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's really, really impressive. Like the energy that some of these dancers have, they're like fully clothed in and when they have the monos on, the huge, I don't know how you say it in English, but the huge cloth things. They're called monos de calenda.
And they're like dressed like big people.
Yeah.
Like big heads with big
they're like made
costumes.
Of cloth and metal and wood, and they put them on top of themselves, and then they like dance them around the city. They weigh a lot, and it's just incredible the work that these dancers and the people that dance and in the calenda, that play music in the calenda. It's an incredible sight to see. And calendas aren't just weddings; they're also for the weddings are like secondary. They're basically for celebrations, cultural celebrations, and then I think they've been adapted to weddings.
Nicole, we have a question from Eduardo del Toro that is actually perfect for continuing this explanation of your photo. It says, I was in Oaxaca a year ago for a wedding. It was complicated, but fun. What advice could you give us for the first time we are going to have a wedding in Oaxaca? Because there are many traditions and we don't want to miss the shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to talk to your clients ahead of time. And if you haven't shot a wedding here, it's like, I think with any cultural wedding, it's important to understand the traditions and what they mean and when they're going to happen and how they're going to happen. And yeah, Oaxaca weddings, definitely the calenda has a lot of meaning. For me, it was important, and I'm very glad that I knew ahead of time that her family is from Sachila, and I knew, and they were bringing the zancudos from the town she was from. So it was an important element of the wedding. I mean, I think an important thing with any wedding, and especially when there's cultural elements that are foreign to you, is to ask the questions and inform yourself about what they mean and when they're happening and why. So. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey.
Chio Garcia says, love you guys.
Love you, Chio.
Okay. Let me pull the next photo. Let's see. Is this your first award, Rich?
Look closely, it couldn't be. Because I'm in it.
All right. So
no, it's okay. No, you can leave it there because I didn't send you my first award because I thought that at the moment it was just a little bit, I don't know, there are people sort of like really suffering at the moment. So can we go back to that other one? The first one. Okay, thank you, lovely.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, so tell us about that photo.
Okay, this isn't my photo. This photo is by, there's a reason, there are two reasons I wanted to just put this here today. The first reason is this is in New York City. And New York's taking an absolute battering right now. So I just wanted to send a lot of love to the people in the US and in New York particularly, and say that, you know, times will get better, hopefully, and we'll get back to some of this craziness. And the second reason was, this is from a Mexican photographer called Daniel Diaz, who photographed this wedding that I was in.
And here.
Yeah, that's me, completely ruining their wedding photos. And that's my little sister, Rach. That's my whole sort of like nuclear family there. And Rach married Phil in Central Park in New York, and that's where that was taken. So that is really me.
So good. I love it. And
I think that just in tribute to those two places, those people, Daniel, who I met, this was about 7 years ago now. And my little sister, Rach, said to me, we'll let you book the wedding photographer. We'd like a photographer. And I went to Fearless and I looked at Fearless and I found Daniel, whose work and whose approach I absolutely love, because he's all about family and all about connection. And right back then, remember, I was still in my dark ages. So I was learning, and I learned a lot from Daniel. He came to New York at Christmas with his heavily pregnant wife, Viri, who was helping him. And they became part of our family that day. So I just learned so much from him. So yeah, just two things really. Big shout out to everyone in New York. You know, we're going to get through this. And also a big tribute to my friend, my new family in Mexico.
Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that with us, Rich.
So I'm sorry that I didn't give you what you asked for.
It's okay. But then what is this photo?
Okay, this is an award. This got a Fearless Award and some other awards. This is Pip and her dad. And Pip and her dad got married at a little farm near Bristol, near where I live actually. And I think I turned a corner this day. She'll shoot me because I can't remember what day and what year it was, but I think I turned a corner because I was crying my eyes out and she was crying and her dad was crying. He came to see her on the morning of her wedding and I was standing in the smallest corridor and I just thought there is only one place these two are going to meet and I can't really shoot I can't really shoot what I want to shoot. I have to just shoot what's in front of me. I couldn't engineer anything. I couldn't bring myself to this. This was just purely what it was. And her dad came in, and I must have been, as you can see, it's this 35 mil. I was like right in front of them with my back pressed up against the wall. And for just that moment, I was invisible. And he was hugging his daughter for the first time on her wedding day. And it just really touched me. Yeah, I mean, it just showed me that there are lots of technical things which could be right or wrong about it, but that something that moves you within an image or within a moment that an image is recording, if something moves you like this, then it just sticks in your head forever. And I guess you kind of impress bits of your life on it. I mean, I'm never going to have children, and I know I'm kind of living my life through some of this as well. You know, I sometimes wonder what it would be like to be a father and to hold my daughter on her wedding day. So I turned a corner this day, and something inside me just became all about the authenticity of the moment. So yes, it won a Fearless Award, and yes, it's won lots of other awards. That's why it really got me. And I went round and met them actually after their wedding a few weeks later. And they had prints everywhere. All of the print, they'd actually printed things out and put them everywhere, which is fantastic. And Pip said that when her dad comes into the house, whenever he sees that photograph, he cries. And I just think that must be the most wonderful feeling in the world. So that's why that's one. That's why that's there.
I love that. Love that. Thank you. Thank you, Rich. Let's see.
Awesome shot.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna pull, let's see, where is Ken's photo? Right here, which has a big story. Let's see. There you go, Ken.
Actually, can you show me the first image, the one you showed me before? So I just want to kind of like go over the thinking process behind this photo.
Yeah, sure.
So they're not brother and sisters; they're husband and wife, but they look like brother and sisters, right? Yeah. So at the time when I was taking this photo, I still remember vividly that I saw them as nothing against like these people, but the Siamese twins, like the body attached together, making the same like smile, and then because I never seen things kind of like this kind of things before, so I was like, when I pressed the shutter, I was like, wow, this is like crazy that they just look alike together. So that's the behind the story about this photo. So you can move on to the next one.
Okay. Let's see. There you go.
So for this one, I shot this wedding in Hawaii, around the Turtles Cove, by myself. I was there as a sole photographer for this kind of like small to medium-sized wedding. They didn't request any second shooters because this was part of their wedding celebrations that took them like maybe months. So they did a small ceremony in DC at the courthouse, and this is their second celebrations with the presence of their immediate family and then best friends. And then they did third one in Taiwan, which I didn't go, for the ravish, big, fat Chinese, Taiwanese wedding, crazy party celebrations. So this was like a halfway through their wedding between those three events. And I was like lucky enough to be in Hawaii to document their wedding. Actually, in this pond, in this cove, there was a monk seal and then a lot of green turtles swimming. And then to me, because I went like snorkeling on the other day before this wedding, I was like so fascinated by the nature of their wedding venue. And also because I was there as a one single photographer, I kind of wonder how I can achieve shots like this showing the landscape of their wedding venue. They got married on the walk path. They just picked this spot because it was showing the water. But when people were sitting down there, they were able to, they just barely saw the water from where they were sitting. So in order to kind of, I don't know, beat their odds about, not seeing the water while they're getting married, that's the whole primary reason why they picked this spot to get married, but people couldn't see the water. So during the pre-ceremonial rehearsal, which happened like hour before this ceremony, there were like a lot of spectators sitting on the resort, the rooms and then balconies. They were like one old couple like watching their rehearsal, and then I was there like looking around, and then when I saw them, I was like, I gave a little hand gesture saying, "Hey, can I just go to your room and then take photos?" Because I'm going to capture this landscape during their ceremony. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, yeah, come to my room. So I kind of like counted out. That's a 5th floor, somewhere in the middle, but I didn't ask for their room number. And then when the official was going through his note, I thought it was a good time to just like get up there and then take a photo. So I just ran like a Usain Bolt, and then took the elevator, and then all the way to the 5th floor, and then went down to the room. But because I didn't know the room number, I started knocking every room, just like, hey. And then there's another couple like who was able to open the door for me and allow me to take photos. That's not the same couple, the old couple that I met earlier, but they were nice enough to give me the spot to take photos. So I was able to get this shot. And then in the meantime, before I left the site, I gave one of my cameras to one of the guests who looked proficient with the cameras, because a lot of Asians, they have a nice cameras. So it's a little stereotypical prejudice, but there was actually a couple of people who brought the nice cameras to the wedding. So I gave one of my cameras just to get some safety shots, and then ran up and then got this shot. It took me about 10 seconds to get this shot, and then ran down to the ground level. And then as soon as I got there, it was about the time to read their vows. And ever since then, they've been crying. They cried all the way through the end of the ceremony. So I felt like I shouldn't have risked myself to get this shot, but for me, it was like a promise to myself and promise to my clients, unspoken promise that I wanted to deliver this photo showing the beauty of this surroundings. And then, rest of the day, it was all about capturing their moments up close with the 35. But yeah, I really appreciate my quick decision-making process to get this shot and then come back and, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but like I was pretty much throughout the whole ceremony, I was like gasping my breath. Because I was like running in high speed with the 2 cameras on my side. But it was very special photo for me. And then because my second shooter, this is something that my second shooter should have got, but I got it by myself as as a main shooter, running in between the ground level and then this vantage point. So yeah, that's why it is so special to me, because I worked my ass off.
Yeah, so I wanted to say to the audience, in case I didn't say it before, but there's the set of the first awards of all of them, and then I asked for a photo that was special for them for some reason. So that's why we saw Rich's photo in his family wedding, and this other photo from Ken running around like a second shooter, and then having a guest as the primary shooter there with his own camera, right? Okay, and so let's see Nicole's special photo. Let's see. So
Yeah, I think I missed the part that it was supposed to be a wedding photo.
it's okay. It's okay. Here we go.
Mhm.
Okay, so tell us about this photo, Nicole.
Yeah, so this photo is my husband, and I'm like pointing to it, but that doesn't make sense, does it?
I'll help you out.
In the rearview mirror closest to us. And this is at a gas station. And so basically in Oaxaca, Oaxaca, we have the Central Valleys, the Sierras, and we have the coast, and among many other things. But in relation to this photograph, we go to the coast frequently. And since my first road trip I ever did in Oaxaca was from Oaxaca City to the coast. It's a 7-hour drive on a 2-lane highway. That's like this the whole, pretty much like 60% of the way. So you go up through you go through the Central Valleys, then up through the Southern Sierra, and then you come down through kind of turns from like pine forest to jungle. It's incredible. It's absolutely beautiful. But I always document, we go a couple times a year, and I always document the process. And specifically, we go at New Year's every year. So this is from not this last New Year's, but the one before. And so basically when this is the last town. This photo is taken at a gas station in Pachutla. So when you get to Pachutla, it's like, okay, the 7 hours is done. I have 20 minutes until I'm at my destination. And so we always stop at the same gas station, get some snacks, fill up on gas, and then do the last like half-hour stretch to finally be there. And so this photo happened. We were waiting in line for gas, and we were just parked there. We have a VW Bug, so he's in the Bug, so it's constrained space. And this collective, no, it's actually not a colectivo, but it is a Subaru. Pulled up next to us, the light was hitting the guys in the car, and then we have the moto, and then we have the Pemex, OXO to give us context. And it's just a photo that I really love. I made it on my phone, my iPhone SE. And it's probably my favorite photo that I've ever made. I really love the composition. And it actually won a documentary family award photo. It was actually eliminated in the live judging and then came back. The whole story about it on my Instagram was quite controversial for me anyway. A couple of my friends who participate in that world as well. So it's probably the most special photo, and compositionally, I really, really love it, and the light and just how everything came together in that moment.
Yeah, when I saw it the first time, I was impressed. I mean, it's so much information in one photo, Yeah.
It's almost overwhelming amount of information, but it also, for me, it represents a lot of like that nostalgia of this road trip, which is for me such a huge part of my connection to Oaxaca. And so every time I see it, I actually have it printed right here on my wall. Every time I see it, it's just like brings me back to that place of like, in my early 20s and doing this road trip and like the colectivos and vans, no problem. And then now in our actual vehicle. So there's a lot of nostalgia behind it and meaning for me personally.
Great shot.
Thank you.
I like it a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I see nice framing and the composition, lines all coming together.
Thank you.
It's very fascinating.
Yeah. And so, well, I think we have been a fun group here. So I would like to know what has been the funniest moment or the most shameful moment you have had at a wedding?
Get me?
Well, it's the three of you, but I got you thinking. I
saw my square light up.
So you already have it, Nicole?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't had that many like crazy moments happen, I guess. Knock on wood.
Look at Richard's face. He's like, oh my God.
I'm thinking of like, oh my God, do they know?
Write it down.
Do they know all the shameful things I've done?
Maybe
someone's told them.
Write them down.
Oh dear. No, definitely, Nicole. You've got to go first on this.
Okay, I'll go.
You've got.
It's not that crazy. I guess so. In the calenda, which you saw that first award picture that I showed, in the calenda, this is like I think actually it was last year. So there's a moment in the calenda where all the calenda comes together and they do a portrait with the bride and groom, if the bride and groom want that. And so they were doing that, lining up, and then so the bride and groom were getting in the middle, and I was getting ready to take the photo. And this was like right in front of the main church, which is like the main plaza area in downtown Oaxaca in the centro. and there's a lot of people, families out and stuff. And so I was lining everything up, kind of waiting, photographing as people are getting in place, which is a lot of the moments that I like to shoot in those more formal, and before and after the more formal pictures. And so I was there, not paying attention to what was going on around me. And then all of a sudden I felt something like hit me hard in the back of my knees. My knees got knocked out, flying backwards. I was able to save my camera, catch myself with one hand, kind of, but I landed. It was like a kid, like 3 or 4 year old child that was on his bike, and he ran right into me with the back of my knees. So I went flying backwards. The kid was crying. The mom came over. She was angry with me, and I was just, and the Calenda people were trying to help. It was just chaotic, but. I mean, that's probably like the most. I've had a couple times that Calenda dancers have come down on my feet as well, which is why I wear boots now, always, my Blundstones. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the craziest, knock on wood again, thing that's happened. So it's not crazy because everyone came out of it perfectly fine. And the kid was fine. I didn't like land on the kid, my knees were like on top of him, so he was cool.
Good.
So
Good.
How about you, Ken?
yeah, I think Richard's got a story. Or Ken.
I was just using Nicole because Nicole seems to like to be the sensible one. So I thought I'll just see where Nicole is with the craziness, and then I'll just work out.
Right.
I'll see how far to go on this.
Well, I can tell you two different stories. One fun and one sad. The first one, fun, was like you see a lot of ripped pants at the weddings.
Mhm.
I ripped my own pants during the ceremony.
Oh no! Oh, that's
Twice, back to back. It's a double-header weekend, and then it was very sweaty. And then my pants were like sticking to my skin because of sweat. And then because we didn't have mirrorless cameras back in old days, I have to squat down to get the low-angle shot, and then. I think I ripped. I think so far I have ripped about 10 pants.
Ask Melissa how many pants I ripped. I suffer from hypothyroidism, so I tend to gain weight, a lot of weight. And during summer season, it's like 90 degrees, and it's super humid, like 100 degrees almost, and 100% humidity. So you can imagine me being a little bit chubby than of the year, like really, and trying to get up in those. They're like mats made out of some petates. They're made out of So I was trying to get up, and I couldn't stand up. And then I suddenly heard the ripping of the middle of my pants, and I couldn't stand up. I just couldn't stand up because one of my shoes got stuck between those mats. So I'm trying, and all I can. And I started to look to the side of the aisle, and all the right aisle looking at me. And then I turned to the left aisle, and all the people in the left aisle looking at me. And one lady was trying to help me, and I said, "No, I'm okay. And when I got up, the whole thing went like that. And I'm sweating more because of the embarrassment, not because of the sun. So I did that 3 times. Yeah. And I know you're feeling, and that's really
yeah.
And I'm so sorry.
If it is small tear, it's fine, but the small tear becomes bigger tear. Right. Slowly goes down to the sim, and there's no way I can cover that up with my shirts or something. So
right, exactly.
So yeah, even if you wear the black underwear for the black pants, once you skin starts showing,
doesn't matter, man. You're doomed.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, they can bring a lot of joy and memories to my client's wedding. So
Totally
for me, better.
I'm totally with you on your story. Who's next, Melissa?
Yeah. The other one is one's sad story. There's one wedding that I couldn't go because I broke my elbow from the previous wedding, and but it's not the reason why I couldn't go, because my dad passed away day after I broke my elbow from a wedding. Pretty much like towards the end of the wedding receptions, I try to capture some moments through the windows. That was back in 2008, and then it was like completely dark outside, and then it was like stormy night, so it was like highly invisible except for the those like small emergency lights. And then when I try to step to my right from the window, so all of a sudden you feel like, you know, whenever you walk around and then you kind of like, you know, keep looking at your cell phone and then kind of step into something that doesn't make you feel like you're stepping on something. It's just like it's like, you know, you're taking a step down and then without knowing, and it's just like you're falling into the black hole. That's what happened to me. What happened was just I fell all the way down to the basement floor from the ground level, and it was all brick staircase. So pretty much I could have had really bad concussion, or maybe I could have died because of the concussion, but I don't know. But luckily I landed with my elbow first. That's why I broke my elbow here. There's a little scar. Well, because I had to hold my cameras instantly. And then the second impact went to my butt, and it left me like face-size bruise on my both butt. And then lastly, when I had my head landed on the bottom of the basement staircase, it was like flooded with water. So I landed water with my head, and then it pretty much absorbed all the impact. So luckily I survived, but I couldn't get up because of the freeze that I got from the this like shock freeze. And then I just kept screaming, help, but it was like no one couldn't hear because like I was very in the confined space outside of the wedding venue, and then no one was outside because it was like raining outside. Anyways, long story short, you know, my second shooter took me to the hospital, and then I got all the like, you know, stitches, and then I was okay. And then like I'll say 12 hours after, my sister from Korea called me saying, you know, my dad passed away because of the heart attack. So what I believe was, I know it's not a fun story, but I wanted to share this story because you guys are awesome friends. I think my belief is like my dad died for me, which I could have died for myself. Like, you know, I couldn't believe that, you know, my dad, who lived that long, just like died day after I almost killed myself from the work. So that's why, you know, photography is very special to me as a job, and then as my passion. And throughout this crisis, I don't want to give up. Like, I don't want to give up my photography. This pandemic is nothing compared to what my dad did for me. So just wanted to share this story. I know I was supposed to be talking about fun stuff, but you know, yeah.
No, thank you for sharing. I mean, it's really nice when you also have this personal things that happen to you, and you regard it also with your photography and share it with people. Thank you so much, Ken.
Yeah, everybody thinks I'm funny and then quirky, goofy person, but there was like 10% of my heart that has some stories in the dark shadows.
You're amazing, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And how about you, Rich?
Oh no! How can I follow that, Ken? Thank you so much, Ken. That was beautiful, and oh man. Well, I'm going to say them anyway. Okay, there's 3. So funny and shameful, wasn't it, Melissa? Is that right? I've lost you.
Sorry. Yeah, either
I've got
one
you.
or both. Either one
or both. Okay. Yeah. Right, let's do 3 real quick then, because now I feel like an arsehole following Ken's beautiful emotional story with this, okay? But I'm going to say it anyway. So number 1, I walked in on an orgy. Does that translate? Yeah, it does. I can see Nicole's face. Yeah, you get that in Mexico, don't you? Okay, so that was the first one. And no, I didn't take any pictures. Number two was there was a bride who was looking a bit grumpy all day. So shamefully, I went into Photoshop, and on about 30% of the edits, I used Liquify and made her smile a bit. And then probably the worst one was I just got a bit overconfident I think it was last year. I was second shooting for Robin, good lad, down on the south coast of the UK. And I was doing, because I love second shooting, it's really good fun. It's all of the fun and zero responsibility. It's like the best thing ever. And I got on really, 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 really well with the groom in the morning, the groom and his best man. It was like we were like brothers or something. It was amazing. So we were having a lot of laughs, a lot of really like extreme laughs. Anyway, when we went to the wedding ceremony, the bride kept him waiting for ages. It was almost like there was a problem. So anyway, I was waiting on the far end of the aisle. So I took my phone out and I was pretending to be on the phone, and I dropped my face. So I was like, okay. And I walked down the aisle, straight down the aisle, and I said, "It's for you." Pretending basically that she called the wedding off. And he took the phone. I went, "Only joking." So that was pretty shameful, but very, very, very funny. But it could have gone two ways, but I got away with it.
Yeah, I think you're the guy that can get with a lot of things.
That one was on the edge. Yeah, that was on the edge. But I think it was, yeah, just knowing the groom so well. But anyway, there you go. Shameful and funny.
I would like to hear Melissa one story.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So okay, so there was this wedding at the resort, and at the end of the wedding, the bride and groom had planned to jump in the pool because here they finish around 11 and they still want to party and whatnot. So she told me, well, we're gonna jump in the pool and you get some photos of that and then you're done. I mean, the party's over. And she said, but the wedding planner doesn't know about this because we're not supposed to do it. I'm like, okay. So the wedding ends, and at this time I tell her, okay, I'm gonna go put my lights, my flash. I'm gonna be on the other side of the pool for when you jump over. I'll catch you there. So basically, she decided to run through another side that she was not supposed to. So I caught her in the pool, not in the jump, which was okay. But then all the guests start jumping in the pool, which was totally unexpected, right? So I'm running through the pool, one side to the other side, trying to get all the guests jumping in the pool. And there's this, what do you call it? The cover at the side of the pool that is a cover of a basket that the skimmer of the pool. Do you know what that is? No?
Clear.
Well,
I think I know.
It's a basket that the water, when it starts moving, like it pushes the leaves or trash in the little basket. Okay, so it's the basket to catch whatever is not supposed to be in the pool. So I'm running and the cover of the thing was not placed correctly. So one of my foot goes in there. I fall. By this time, everybody jumping, the side of the pool was full of water. So I'm like this with the cameras, of course, that nothing happened to them. And then I take out my foot from the from the hole, and I had stepped in the basket and broke it, and so my foot was sticking out of the basket. And the group saw me, and so he came swimming over to help out and pull basket off my foot.
Oh, did you hurt yourself?
Well, like my bum did hurt a while,
Yeah.
but
Nothing major.
I mean, I saw that I could have broken like a bone, like my tibia or something, if I had walked a different way. But as a photographer, I still got a photo of the groom taking the basket off my foot. So, so
I want to see that photo. We gotta send it to
yeah,
us.
yeah. I'll put. I posted it on Facebook, but this was like a year and a half ago. I'll post it again.
Yeah.
If I knew I was going to talk about this, I would have shared it with you. So we're almost ready to wrap it up, guys, because I know Rich. Well, it's way later over in the UK. Maybe Ken is going to be ready for dinner time in the US. And I don't know what's going on with Nicole.
I'm chilling. It's just started raining, so.
Oh, really? Okay. So, in the other programs, we have done a kind of a game, maybe a game with the like a trivia. So, what this is about, I'm gonna do it with all of you together because we have done it like in different segments before. But so we're gonna start like ladies first, and then so it's gonna be Nicole answer, then Ken, and then Rich. Okay. So.
Bit sexist.
Oh no, of course not.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm gonna say a word, and so you say the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let's start. It's Nicole, Ken, and then Rich. Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Photography.
Camera.
Food.
Naked.
Family. Family, Nicole.
Wait, what was it?
Family.
Family. Dogs.
House.
Love.
Okay.
They have more time than me to think about it.
Right. Work.
House.
Work. Tax.
Knackered. Yeah.
Okay. Love.
Family.
Family.
Yeah.
Hate.
Oh.
Hey, this is truth.
Yeah.
Shall I think a bit harder before I answer?
Friendship.
Oaxaca.
Love.
Hugs.
Art.
What?
Art.
Art. Oh, camera again, I guess, came to my head.
The way you see the world. Perspective.
Beauty.
Okay. How about travel?
Life.
Juice.
Exhausting.
Like what's travel have to go with juice?
Yeah.
Ken.
It's like energy source. Juice. Vitamin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mexico.
Life again.
Mm-hmm.
Neighbor.
The seaside.
Okay. How about music?
Tracy Chapman.
Moves. Body moves.
This is crazy because now I feel influenced by Tracy Chapman. She's in my head now.
Yeah,
But I would say
Revelation
Queen.
song.
Yeah.
Queen.
Yeah.
Okay. Hobby.
Cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Inspiration.
Painting model soldiers.
Gotta see some pictures of those too.
I like it. Okay, and last but not least, success.
Happiness.
Modesty.
I don't know. Nothing came into my head.
Success.
I actually don't know. Success. I don't know. It's
Relative.
that ephemeral thing I haven't thought of yet.
Relative. There's the word.
Nothing.
Yeah, I really don't. That's a success. Nothing. Literally, you know, everything else jumped into my head, like all those things. Success.
Reach.
Nothing.
Success means reach. Reach out.
Thank you.
Oh.
Oh, doesn't mean
Trivia. It's trivia.
It's trivia. Okay. Success. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what success means. I just don't know. Nothing came into my head. It must be so confused. Maybe I need some therapy. I know that everything I say, because now I know Nicole's a psychologist as well.
Yeah. Maybe she will be branching out in some other business with all this thing going on. So keep in touch with her, Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone needs a second shooter, I'm free for the next year.
Yeah.
Me too.
Rich, have your weddings been postponed or canceled yet?
I had 2 that wanted to cancel. I've managed to postpone 99% of all my weddings now, which is fantastic. I just think I sat down with my PA and we talked about it, and we just said, we're not going to go out and release a statement or anything like that. Just don't be a dick. Just deal with each one at a time. See if we can get them to postpone and just see what happens. And I was very, very lucky that they all still want to get married, as far as I know. And yeah, I managed to postpone. So really, really happy with that. I know that's not the case for a lot of people though, so I don't want to say too much because I know this is tough times, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really tough times.
Yeah. So, well, we're over the 2 hours chatting, which has been amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Time flies. But I also don't want to keep you. But if there's anything you want to say, want to share with each other, the people that are watching us, anything, Ken?
Wow. me being first.
Hmm.
Just believe in yourself. Believe in the community, and then believe in your family and loved ones. Just don't try to solve the problem by yourself. Just like work in collaboration just to solve the problem. Then let the other people help you while you're helping other people. Because love goes around, it's very contagious, just like more contagious than virus. So share the love, and then just like adjust yourself a little bit, but just don't be discouraged by this process. Just like, just keep up who you are, and then what you are, then enjoy your life.
Thank you, Ken. How about you, Nicole?
I don't know. I mean, I second what Ken said, and be well in these times and try and stay present. And the world's going to change. Everything is going to change and is changing. And we have to not resist that process, embrace it in the ways that we can, and figure out how to go through it as healthfully and as we can. But yeah, I mean, the world's going to change, but it's still going to be, right? So finding new ways and opening ourselves up to new possibilities, and doing what we can, reaching out if you need help, reaching out if you need to talk, or we're not alone, you're not alone. So yeah, be well. I think we can do this. We can get through
Yes,
this
we
together,
can.
community, and yes, a world, family.
Thank you. And Rich,
Oh, okay.
you're the closing one.
Okay, it's
Ooh.
tough times. Hope for the best, but plan for the worst. Do not wait and hope that things will get better. Take action, because action always beats fear. If you're doing something about your situation to improve it, you will immediately feel better. Do not hang around thinking that the photography industry will recover in 3 months' time. It won't. Go out there, find money, keep the roof over your head and food on the table, and love your family, and things will eventually get better. Everything comes to an end, even us. So work hard, do your best. It's not the end, it's just a temporary pause. And we'll see you all soon. And I'm sending love to everyone that I know who's out there self-isolating and locked down and having a tough time.
Okay, thank you, Rich. And so I want to thank you in behalf of all the team of Sin Tapabocas. Again, Cristian Macias, Jorge Romero, Barbara Torres, and Alex Sosa, which have run all this. We meet online, do all the questions, have ideas, discuss things, we're gonna invite and whatnot. So thank you on behalf of all of them. And it was really, really nice to chat with all of you. I look forward to seeing you, I don't know when, but hopefully in the future. And so don't go away. We're gonna have the after party right now with some beers and drinks, okay? So hold on right there. We're gonna go offline and then we're gonna do the after party, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so
Adios.
much.